Corp to JetBlue to Levi Strauss, etc. Notice the costs of where am I going here? Our payback rate has held very high. Our cost of giving a loan has dropped tremendously from the early years when it was almost costing as much overhead for staff time, for our offices, for our computers, etc., as it cost us to dispense with disperse the micro lending. So here's just a bunch of other organizations students have worked with me on and had summer internships. Some have received job offers, got full-time positions. Some are living in other parts of the world. Some are working out of Utah or California or New York with certain NGOs. Here's a local example. This is called Micro Business Mentors. Mentores para la microempresa. In about 2003 or 4, 2002, sometime in there, my grad students, MBAs and MPAs said, Warner, we're doing micro lending in all these other third world places. What about trying something local? I said, yeah, let's do it. So we created a little Marriott School kind of a lab. You get credit for it. For a team of students that run a little NGO here in town. We run it out of the Tanner Building. And essentially, we focus on, we found that the population of the poor in Utah Valley had been increasing throughout the 1990s. And by 2000, it was getting huge. And we said, let's do something locally, particularly with the minority population, the Hispanics, the Latinos. And so we started doing some training. We launched this thing called MBM. And if you're interested in learning how this kind of enterprise works, what's the process by which people get prepared and receive a loan and then pay it back and grow their business, check out their website, microbusinessmentors.org. or BYU, or my campus web pages, blog. It's a simple little process, but students, some of them have been able to not only do good while they were in school, doing well with their grades, but doing good in society. And some of them got great jobs or got into grad school after, precisely because they had learned and had a year or two experience doing this. And then when they were being considered for MBA program at Wharton or Stanford, or they're being interviewed by Citicorp or some big company, when they show the resume with that experience, they tell me, and they've told me this for over 10 years now, the recruiter only wants to talk about what they did with micro business mentors. They've looked at their grades, they've looked at their GMATs or whatever, what are the letters of recommendation. They're heavily focused on this idea that these students have had experience in their own community doing stuff, becoming successful through capacitación, training, through group support, creating little support groups of other clients to help everyone help each other, to get mentored by one of our volunteers who served a mission in Mexico or served a mission in Florida and speaks Spanish and wants to do stuff like this. And so we help them prepare little business plans. And then the last thing we do, well, we continue the mentoring, but the last thing we do is give them a préstamo, give them a loan, let them start their own little business. Here's one example. Maria there with the dark hair, Latter-day Saint woman, moves to the U.S. with her husband, and I think she had 3 girls. He was an RM. They wanted a better life. They left Guatemala, came here. Lived here 2 years, struggled. Finally, the husband takes off and abandons her. So she's in a country without legal paperwork. She hardly speaks any English. She can't get a job. And she's like tens of thousands of people in Utah today. and millions across the country. So we helped train her to start a little micro enterprise. And at the end of that, we gave her $500 loan. And she took off with that. What do you think she could do with a $500 loan? What kind of business could you start in Provo, Utah? The SBA says a small business usually has a starting capital amount around $35,000. What can you do with $500? Any ideas? Yeah. Daycare? Have mothers bring their kids to your home and you care for it? Yeah, you got to get licensed and stuff, right? But it's a possibility. What else? Other thoughts? You're entrepreneurs, I know. What other ideas? Yeah. Can't hear you. So yeah, buy some food, cook it up, sell it on the street corner, take your little wagon out or something like that. Another hand back there? Yeah, way back. Go ahead. Get a sewing machine? Yeah, you can get a sewing machine for a couple $100. Then what would she do with them? Fantastic. In her case, she became a barber. She got her loan. She bought 2 cases. And in one of them, she put clippers and razors and combs and scissors. In the other, she put the cape, that the barber wears or in the salon, and dyes and lotions and creams and so forth. Ladies, I don't know what you do in the salons. I don't know. I don't have much experience with salons. Whatever it is, she did. And she started going door to door in the Hispanic neighborhoods of Provo, carrying these 2 bags, knocking on doors and saying, "Hi, I'm Maria. I'm your local barber. Anybody in the household need a haircut today? I cut kids' hair for $2. If there's a man in the house, I'll cut their hair for $5. If there's a woman who wants a perm or her hair dyed or cut or razor cut or whatever, $10 or more." And she became hugely successful. In a few months, she was back with her sister. She'd paid off her first loan. She wanted a $1,000 loan. If they paid their loans off on time, in full, with interest, in a responsible way, we tell them we'll double their loan, double the amount for the next loan. And that's what happened. And her life took off. Last I saw or heard from her was about 4 or 5 years ago. She had 5 ladies working with her. One was in Lehigh, one down in Spanish Fort. Making a success, students finding fulfillment by more than just going to classes and getting grades. They were learning not just for school, but for life. Here's another one. Unitas was a big success. Some students and some Latter-day Saint business people and alums I worked with. We said in 2000, we're going to start another NGO, but it's not going to be giving out loans ourselves. Instead, we're going to give the money to microfinance organizations, MFIs, and let them do the loans and return the loans, regain the capital, earn the interest, etc. And so we started working with some major organizations. What we found was most MFIs are very small. They only have a few hundred or a couple thousand borrowers. We wanted to scale up. We wanted to accelerate. So that's what we called Unitas. Let's unite us with the poor and accelerate their future. And so as you can see here, different partners. We started in Mexico from scratch, and then we started working with tiny MFIs in India. One of them now has 7 million borrowers. And we've given them probably $20 million. We've raised about $200 million through Unitas and had huge growth all over the world, 7 million clients. We call ourselves a catalyst in that respect. There's Armando. So, I don't know. We started in Mexico with Unitas. That effort's grown. The latest project I've been involved with is a project called Sustain Haiti. How many have heard of Sustain Haiti? Anybody? What happened in Haiti January 12, 2002? You guys remember? huge earthquake, 7.0, destroyed that country. Almost every house there made out of cement. Almost every house in the country was damaged. Their equivalent of our Congress and our White House is pancake, flat to the ground. And we formed in my little microfinance class that semester, we formed a game plan to do something to Haiti to help them improve their lives. And we've been working there for 3 years now. We do, if you're interested in the summer internship, that would be a great one if you want to do microfinance. Because we give loans out, we do lots of business training, we give loans to poor villagers, and at the end of the summer, we find the best business plans people have created, and we have a competition. And we give the winner a couple $1,000, and the next ones get 1,000 or something like that. And to see the change in people's lives when we go back a year later, it's just an amazing kind of experience. So here at BYU, we've had a lot of results, whether it's articles or awards or jobs or partnerships with units. Like this was about 1996 or 7 in New York for a bunch of students. Each one of them working on a different project out of my courses, and they're now going strong. This is my class, my microfinance class. This last week in Salt Lake, we had a session with Eunice who was traveling through, and we helped him do some fundraising. And students walked out of that experience saying things like, you know, I've read about Mahatma Gandhi. Today I felt like I was in the presence of Gandhi. Or another one said to me in an email later that night, said, I've read all about people working with Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement. It started here and spread around the world. I feel like I finally met Martin Luther King myself. Here's President Monson when he was sustained in April 2009. He then got all the general authorities together after conference and had a training session. And the theme of that meeting was, brethren, who have you rescued today? What are you doing to rescue those of God's children who suffer? That is our calling as Latter-day Saints. So I'm hoping you can get a sense of how we can make a difference, how your education can bless others. You don't need to give up your careers and your jobs and your position in Chicago or on Wall Street or whatever. You can do something collaborative. You can have an income-generating success and a strong, healthy family yourself with a spouse and 3.2 children and 2 cars and a boat in the garage. Then you can spend some of your time, some of your energy blessing those who struggle with just a little of your expertise. Any thoughts or questions? I want to give you one last story before we wrap up. What haven't I been clear about? What would you like to understand better? Or what of this about all this sounds crazy, screwy? A museum for poverty? What are you talking about? Yes? No, not really. I used to worry that that might happen. But they've got so much business, it's no big deal today. Until your little NGO becomes huge and successful, then perhaps. We found some violence from husbands against their wives because now she has a loan. Now she has her own business. She's not dependent on me. And they'd either try to take the money for their own parties, their own drinking, their own gambling, or they just felt intimidated. So there was some violence in the early years of this movement. But many MFIs essentially said, okay, we're going to go to that house. We're going to talk to that husband. We're going to tell him if he took her money, she's going to be kicked out of the village bank. She'll never get a loan again. You'll never have somebody productive creating jobs for your own family and income for your own family. And most of that ended very quickly. Another comment, question? Yeah. Yeah. Usually what we do, and I'm just talking about the MFIs I've helped start, or the ones I've been on boards or presidents for, we pretty much go with what the bank rate is in that country. We don't want to undercut the banks, particularly. If they're charging a reasonable interest rate, we'll go with that, because we want to be part of the system. And we want our clients to learn. Microfinance isn't free. We're not giving you money that you pay us back and then it's over. No, you got to pay something. You earn, you pay the loan back, you pay the interest rate, and the interest rate happens to be 7% or 17% or whatever. So they learn how to get a loan and pay it back from us, and then they can do that with a regular bank later. Final question. Comment.
Legal problems from working in the black market?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with those?
They're not many. Usually this process starts out so tiny. Governments don't care about it or whatever. But when you're big like Ramini or Finca or Mentors International, then we are registered as nonprofits in those countries, and we obey regulation. We do. We work within the system, the legal structure. But that's usually after a period of experimentation and pioneering effort. So think about what you can do. Think about how you can maybe give, in addition to your tithing to the church, your 10% of your money. Think about this little thing that I've been preaching for years and years. Social tithing, not just financial. Think about giving some of your skills and expertise to the inner city group in your community when you start your career, or to that women's organization, or to the Arts Council, or start a microfinance project, or an NGO doing healthcare, and give some of your time and energy, just about 10%. You can make a huge difference in that process. And your life your spiritual and your temporal life will be more integrated, and you'll know what it really means to live consecration, to live a life of stewardship. Thanks a lot. Good luck to you.